Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. I am in the process of making some canned banana bread. That's correct, you heard me, canned banana bread. It seems that neither my husband or myself enjoy making his lunch very much, and we found though that if you're organized it goes a lot smoother and with not quite so much dread about, oh, what are we going to put in there today? So he's gone to bed. It's early in the evening. He drives truck and it's winter time, so their best hauling logs out of the bush is done when the weather's cooler, which it is tonight. It's -14 as I'm filming this right now. So I will come back in just a minute and I'll show you the process for canning this banana bread. Just see you in a minute. So because my husband is in bed, I won't be getting out the stand mixer and making a whole bunch of racket here. I am just going to cream together 3/4 of a cup of lightly packed brown sugar with half a cup of butter that's softened, and I will tell you a little bit about the process while I do this. So this is definitely probably not approved by the powers that be, and I don't know who they are in each of our countries. I think the US, yes, I don't know, but I do know that this probably isn't a sanctioned method of doing this, and I've learned to be okay with the criticism that comes with trying some of the, no, I've been doing these things for a while, but just sharing them with people. I have had all kinds of, I don't want to say hate, but I've had all kinds of criticisms about the way some of these things are done because they haven't been approved by the US, is it Food and Drug Administration? I'm not sure. So I've had to develop a bit of a thick skin around that. It took me a little while. In fact, you'd be really amazed at the things that people criticize. I had one fellow say that he couldn't believe that with all of the preparation that we do and all the prep time that we have, that we couldn't put something on our counter that we could lay our spoon on when it was dirty. But I have to say also that for the majority of people, you have been just wonderful and supportive as I've shared these things. So you're the ones that keep me coming back. So now I've got the butter and the sugar creamed together. I'm just going to add the eggs one at a time. And I might get the whisk out of the drawer just to show you that I'm not as organized as I thought, because I think the whisk will do a better job than the wooden spoon. The things that you get used to. I love my big old wooden spoons, but sometimes there's a better tool for the job. So this is going to require 2 eggs, and I do have a plate to put my wooden spoon on. I've got one in there. I'm going to mix it really well, and before I add the other one. Oh, I know this makes a racket. Should have put a towel underneath there. I have to guess it's not too late, is it? I've got my oven preheating at 350 degrees. Oh, look at how much better that is. My little arm workout tonight. Now I feel comfortable adding the other egg. And I've broken these both into a bowl beforehand because we're really lucky to be getting farm fresh eggs, but sometimes you're better off to check the eggs beforehand because you don't know. The eggs haven't been run through commercial candling process or anything, so you have to be mindful. So break them into a bowl first to make sure that there's no issues with them. Now, to this, I have, I'm pretty satisfied with the mix. I'm going to add now 1/3 of a cup of sour cream. And again, get out the old wooden spoon and make sure that I get this all into this bowl. This is a real soft mixture, and it stays really moist, which is nice because of the way we're canning them. I'm also at this time going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla, because it's one of those recipes where you put in basically all of your wet ingredients and then add your dry ingredients to that. So at the opening, I was mashing 4 bananas in this big bowl. And you know, if you've ever made a banana loaf or banana bread of any kind, you know that you want the bananas to be overripe or pretty ripe. These ones are overripe, but they're fresh bananas. Sometimes if the bananas are getting away from me, I just put them into the deep freeze and I freeze them until I'm ready to use them. And then just let them warm on the counter until I'm ready. But these ones, I didn't have any in the freezer for, I guess I've been baking quite a bit. So we're gonna mix this in really good. So that was 4 bananas. They're probably considered medium size. They're not those great giant ones, but medium-sized bananas. And whisk them in good. And then in this bowl right here, I've measured out 2 cups of flour. And I've done it the old-fashioned way, the way that we learned to do it in home ec class in high school, where you spoon the flour into the measuring cup and then you'll level it off with a knife. Because some of these recipes are kind of finicky about the amount of flour, and we can pack a lot of flour into a cup without intending to. When you scoop it, it presses the flour in and then you end up with too much and your product can be dry in the end. So I'm trying to be a little better about that. In this little container I have 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And I'm just going to add this to the dry ingredients. And then I'm just going to give them a little stir to make sure everything's in there. Yes, I'm using my finger. And then I'm going to switch up my tools again and go back to my wooden spoon, and I'm just going to add this a little bit at a time, maybe half. And this is one of those recipes you don't want to overmix it. How much flour do I have on me now? So this is not a difficult recipe, and certainly I have to do a little more preparation to film it so that it goes a little quicker than you would at home. Before I started filming, of course, I had the flour and the sugar and everything out here, which is the way it'll be when you do it at home. But once you've got everything all around you where you can reach it, then it goes quite quickly. This is a real lifesaver, having these put away in the cupboard. And you know, if you're using the same recipe, or sorry, if you're using the same method, you can do this with any number of things like brownies or just a vanilla cake if that's what you preferred, or maybe like a rhubarb cake or something like that. I have added blueberries to cakes in the past, just as you would to, say, a muffin, or yeah, muffin. And I've had great success with it. Now I do have to say that canning this way doesn't have as long a shelf-stable life as if you were canning in a pressure canner or water bath canner. But I think I think that they really would last a year if you didn't use them up that quickly, but we tend to because I can make quite a number of them in one batch. The last time I made them, it was honestly a while ago, and I can't remember how many little jars I got, but we're going to find out today. So I'm going to skip now, clean up this, and I'll come back with the jars and I'll show you the process of getting the dough into the jars and where we go from there. So hang on. Now, you saw me just spray these little jars with Pam. I wish that I had all the little jars in this configuration, which is 1 cup, instead of this configuration, which is also 1 cup. I think that it's easier for my husband to take the cake or the loaf out of this size than it is at this size. And that's the only real difference. And you have to be cautious about the cook time too. This one's going to cook a little faster than this one, so we're going to be watching them really closely while they're in the oven. Now the trick, yes, in the oven. So the trick to these is that you do not overfill the jars. Don't fill them more than half full, because you anticipate that the dough will double in size. So if you want to keep it, you could be a little, well, actually I'm pretty satisfied with that. You anticipate that it'll rise up to here, and because it's baked, it'll probably go a little higher, and you still have to get the lid on. So I'm just going to go through this process and hope that as I do this that we can just chat, and that everybody out there is well and safe, and that you've all had good holidays and good weather. I guess that's not entirely possible for all of us to have all of those things at the same time, but gee, wouldn't it be nice if we did? It's definitely made for some challenging times in all the parts of the world, different parts of the world where we live. And it's certainly challenging for all of us that have grandkids that live in places not close to us to try and keep up an ongoing relationship with them, for sure. And we sure do wish they were, you know, all around us, but that's not possible. So we just want them to stay safe and happy where they are. And when this is all over, we're going to be able to get together for a grand celebration. And it's not taking me too long. I'm pretty cautious because I don't want to overfill these. So you would think that each of these glasses should take about half a cup. That's what you would guess if you're going to fill them half full. And I will wipe them down once I have everything in the jars, because it's like regular canning. You cannot have any grease or food particles between the jar and the sealing ring, the sealing seal, the seal. Because if you do, it will not seal when it comes time. So, what did I get out of this? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 jars, which is great. I'm excited about that. Now I'm going to just grab maybe a skewer, because I'm going to need a skewer anyway to test them for doneness once they're done out of the oven. And I'm going to get a little room in between the jars. Now I don't think it matters which vinegar you use. I'm going to use this one, which happens to be right here on my island. It is a red wine vinegar. And I'm just going to make sure all these tops have all the grease off them, because I did spray them all with Pam, and so you have that overspray to worry about. So anyway, you'll have to let me know if you're interested in other lunch items, like things that we do to prepare for lunches, because it is a challenge. That's not all I've got to say about that, but it's certainly enough. My husband isn't a big sandwich eater. He eats them because he too is aware that sometimes that's the easiest way to get a lunch is to make a sandwich. But he's not terribly fond of them, so we make a lot of leftovers. I've got them all in there. I'm just going to turn on the lids, or the seals. Now, in pressure canning, or in any canning recently, they tell us that if you're canning for more than 10 minutes, that you don't have to boil your seals. In fact, they don't really recommend boiling your seals. But because this is the oven method, I am still going to at least make them soft by heating them up, and so that after they come out of the oven they'll be ready. So I've just got these biggish skewers, and I'm just going to go around and make sure that they're all packed in there pretty well, and that there are no huge air bubbles. So there we go. I'm set. I'm happy with the jars. I am going to now's the tricky part, getting them into the oven without the jars banging together and then getting them back out. So I'll be back in a minute. Well, here we are, and I have just removed them from the oven, and this is where we're going to work a little bit quick here. We're going to make sure again that our rims are all clean and do a visual inspection, make sure that everything looks good. And at this point, I really want that towel that's underneath these jars. So I am going to gently remove the jar, and I'll put down a mitt, and I will pick them back up. Now, this is the part that gets a little tricky. We're going to remove the jar off of here. These have been in the oven for 25 minutes, and there's a couple of them that didn't rise as much as the rest. So quite honestly, what I will do with them is I will put them one in the fridge and one in the lunch that's going to go out tonight. And so just tighten it down as you would with any, maybe finger tight, I guess. And then I'm going to return it to the pan, and I'm going to repeat this process. Now, it takes a little time, I guess, to figure out exactly how much to put in of each ingredient if you're going to do brownies. They cook a little differently and they rise a little differently. So it does take a little longer. And you can definitely make these in bigger jars. One year for Christmas we have a couple of, or we had, unfortunately we've lost them, we've had a couple of old bachelors in our life, and we would make these up into the pint jars and give them to them as gifts, because then they could eat as little or as much as they wanted out of the container. But we did recommend that they just dump them out of the jar, and that they just slice them up, and they could add a bit of fruit to them and some whipped cream if they chose to go that way, or not. They could just eat it plain, depending on, you know, what it was. So I have I'm changing mitts back and forth. I'm sure you're following along just fine. the jars are like 375 degrees, 350 degrees I think I had this on, but 375 would be good. They've pulled away just all the signs that you would use in just regular baking, such as it pulling away from the side of the jar. Those things are all evident here. And these taller jars didn't rise as much, so I'll be more mindful of that the next time I use this size jar, is to make sure I do fill them a little more than halfway, because they don't climb up the jar as much. And now, you know, when I'm finished putting the last cap on, I will show you the old lunch pail and what's going in it for tomorrow's lunch, although that changes every day, and my husband is quite capable of making his own lunch, but it's something I still, no, that would be a fib. It's not that I enjoy it, but I enjoy doing this part of it, where I'm making treats and things to go inside his lunch. So that is that process. It's really not that difficult. These will ping to show they're sealed, just like you would do with, you know, any other canning project. The trick is to, as soon as they come out of the oven, is to get the caps on them. And as with all my recipes, if you look in the description box below, you'll see the recipe for this and any other tips or tricks that I can think of that might help you be successful in doing this. I will definitely share with you there. So I'm just going to tidy this up and I'll come back and show you what's in the lunchbox for tomorrow. So here's the old lunchbox. I've tried to replace it with a new one, but this is the one he likes the best, so we'll leave that be. I just add a fork and a spoon to the front pocket, and tomorrow he's having leftover chicken curry. There's rice on the bottom and then the chicken curry on the top. And he doesn't mind eating it cold, which is great, because he's going to have to eat it when he's being loaded or something on the landing. In here is a few prunes, because he likes to have those every day, a banana, and in this container I have a cinnamon roll that I made yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I made the cinnamon rolls. And so you can also, if you're interested in learning how to make these in jars, let me know in the comments and I'll show you that process as well. But I just made these in pans in the oven. And then, yeah, it's got a cream cheese frosting on top. So that's going in his lunch. And I guess we haven't left room for these little treats. So we will add them tomorrow to his lunch tomorrow. But that's what's in his lunchbox for tomorrow. I hope that you've enjoyed this, and if you have, or if you have any questions, you'll comment in the comment section. And I look forward to coming back with another recipe for you really soon. Take care, everybody, and thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, that would be really helpful. Good night.